Hey, what's going on, guys? Fizz here once again. This is going to be the start of the third build diary series of characters that are participating in my Merry Fizmas group HCSSF private league. The Glad and the Slayer have not died. I am just finished with them and moving on to the next thing. As of right now, I plan for this to be the final character, and I kind of want to push this one a little bit further than I took the others. That's just my current feelings. That may change, and I may have time for one more character. Obviously, if this character has an untimely demise, excuse Discord, if this character has an untimely demise, then we will of course be rolling another character. But all things, assuming everything goes right, I guess I should say, this should be my last character, but I'm finicky, who knows? I may change my mind in 2 days and just want to play a new build. But for now, that's the plan with this character. So, Physics Chaos Mommy. Who is it? Well, this is a Bane Occultist. I've been eyeing Bane for so long. I've wanted to play Bane again for so long. I haven't really played it since it came out. And even when it came out, I didn't play it a whole lot. Every time I try to play Bane, I end up transitioning into Death's Oath because Death's Oath is such a fun build. This time, I want to try to stay Bane. I have toyed with the idea of doing Death's Oath. However, there's a really large caveat that Bane, in this patch, are putting as many 50% auras on your characters you can is a huge deal. It's a massive increase in damage and survivability. And with the way I have this character set up, if I were to swap, and this was also the deciding factor on why I decided to do Bane instead of Cold Dot, by the way. But if I were to swap to Cold Dot or Death's Oath, the build would have to change significantly because I am not currently, but I will be running 350% reservation auras. And Bane is the only thing that allows you to do that comfortably. So that's huge. Why, you may ask, is simply because you apply all your curses. Occultist is like the curse ascendancy. You apply all your curses with Bane. So you don't need to use any blasphemies or anything. So it makes it a lot more comfortable in terms of what you can do with your mana pool. You have a lot more freedom there. So I guess first off, I'll jump in a map. So currently this is what my atlas looks like. I've been running Awakening level 7. Mostly just trying to get random maps completed and farm different regions and kind of build up my map pool. Since I've been jumping around a lot on different characters, as you can see, my map pool in red maps is quite sparse. It's pretty empty up here. So I don't have a whole lot of freedom in what I want to run and stuff. See if any of these are okay. I guess we can run a maze with more monster life. So this is 27% more monster life, and then again, Waking level 7's how much? 21% more. So that's a lot of monster life, right? Let's go in here. Let me turn my music down a little bit. So I'm gonna play through this. So currently, I'm using Defiance Banner and Determination and Malevolence. The third and final aura I will be running with the build is Grace. Grace because we are actually a right side of the tree build, simply because there's so much stuff on the right side of the tree, biggest thing being ghost shrouds, but also all the chaos damage is on the right side of the tree, right? So you gotta, if you're doing a chaos build, you're probably gonna want to be on the right side of the tree. There's not a whole lot of support for chaos skills on the left side. So once I get a Shaper Shield rolled up, that's when I will be able to slot in Grace. As of right now, I'm not using Grace simply because I want the damage from Malevolence. Determination is obviously non-negotiable. It's got to be in the build. And then Grace is just the final thing. It helps with obviously a bunch of evasion helps with not getting hit, but a big thing is how much energy shield you'll get back. And that's another reason that I don't feel super pressured right now to be running Grace, is simply because I've not yet gotten the Gravicious craft for Life is ES, which is crazy because if you look at my HP, my just raw HP right now, I have just shy of 6.8k life and just shy of 1.6k energy shield. That's without the Gravicious craft. So this character is going to have a lot of raw HP once we actually get the max life as ES craft. So really excited for that. This character is going to have a ton of raw HP. That's very exciting. Obviously, you could also, if you really wanted to, fit in a Glorious Vanity, and then this character would have like, what, like 14, 15k raw HP, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I've been having a blast with it. Right now, the build's like actually pretty strong. The biggest pain point with the build, I would say, is simply it kind of like struggles with like sustain. Like most builds with this like playstyle do that rely heavily on ghost shrouds and stuff like that. I am like mashing my flasks as I clear this map. I'm just like out of all my flasks. That's so funny. Anyway, I kind of struggle with sustain. It's not a huge deal. I haven't really had many problems with it. Another like part of the build is you are literally chaos res capped. I have 75% chaos res, so there's not a whole lot that's gonna hurt you. And overall, it is blowing me away, to be honest, with how good it feels. I was really struggling to decide between like Cold Dot Occultist, because I haven't played that in a while either, and that used to be my favorite build, or one of my favorite builds, I should say, because I really like, again, they like the ice archetype, like water. That's like my favorite element, and my like favorite thing to build around. In PoE historically, it's usually not that good, but it's like my favorite thing. So I was really heavily leaning towards Cold Dot. But funnily enough, when I was comparing POBs, Chaos Occultist, like Chaos Dot Occultist, was actually pulling ahead in terms of damage, which really surprised me. But I guess it makes sense with the new Masteries and stuff. The huge caveat there is that assumes max Wither stacks, which honestly on Occultist is incredibly easy to maintain. But that also includes or assumes, you know, decent Blight stacks, which that's a pretty big caveat for the build, considering for Cold Dot, you just kind of like throw, like the only, I guess, downside of Vortex, and that's the map, only downside of Vortex is that you kind of have to stand on the boss to like put the Vortexes on him. But other than that, it's like kind of whatever. Whereas like Blight is like, you have like, you know, you're chained to the ground to have optimal DPS. It's way less mobile during boss fights, so it doesn't have that going for it. So over the course of an entire boss fight, Cold Dot may end up winning out, just depending on how much Blight uptime you have. But in terms of pure numbers, assuming you have like decent Blight uptime, then funnily enough, this build was pulling ahead in terms of numbers for my POBs. And this isn't like some POB warrior type shit where it's like, assuming you always have max Wither and you always have 20 stacks of Blight and the Vol Blight's active in the DPS. That's not, it's not like that at all. Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about this build, again, over like a Death South or a Cold Dot Occultist, is every curse is linked to Bane. So I'm running Despair, Enfeeble, and Punishment in my links, and I don't have to blasphemy any of them. So that lets me run Defiance Banner, Grace, Determination, and Malevolence. So again, the thing holding me back is I've got some like Hunter or Shaper shields, and I'm rolling them trying to get the Socrates Gyms have mana reservation efficiency. So you can get 20% for a tier 2 roll or 30% mana reservation efficiency for a tier 1 roll. And I've just not hit it yet. Well, I've hit it a few times, but not on any, you know, not on like usable shields. A good example is like 7 life with like no other resist and a little bit of chance to block. It's basically like a dead slot. It only gives a reservation, which I'm not really willing to give up. So you would just put your Grace, your Malevolence, and your Determination all in the shield, and then you'll be able to fit in, Grace. In the meantime, I still have it socketed using Vol Grace, you know, as like a oh shit button. It's another crazy thing about the build is you have Defiance Banner, Vol Grace, and Vol Molten Shell as like get me out of death situation buttons, which is really nice. So now we're gonna go over the passive tree. Why this passive tree? So there was this tree is really similar. I noticed there was one guy, I think there was one guy, there may have been more, but I saw someone in Gauntlet playing a Bane Occultist, and I was like, that guy's a psycho. I assumed he was just playing it to like get levels and get some, you know, get level 90 and dip or whatever. That was my assumption. I looked at his tree, and there's like shenanigans you can do with cluster jewels, and I ended up comparing my POB to his. And my POB without cluster jewel setup, and his POB is like he does 2% more damage. There is a really cool thing though, is that with his POB, if you grab the mana reservation small cluster jewel, you can actually forego the Shaper Shield. However, I don't like cluster jewel setups. And there's another huge part. If you go for the cluster jewel setup, you can't go on the left side of the tree. And why is that a big deal? Well, corruption with the increased effect of withered, as well as the 2 nodes leading up to it, which makes it expire 20% slower, helps one with withered, keeping max stacks of wither uptime. And then the increased effect of withered is a bunch of extra damage. So this little node right here is how I'm bridging that gap in terms of damage of the cluster jewel setup. My tree also has a little bit more life than his, and on top of that, this is why. This was the deal breaker for me. So I tried to play without Hexmaster, and I couldn't. It felt really bad to me, even with the Profane Bloom explosions. The AoE on Bane is abysmal without this node, and once you grab this node, it feels amazing. We're talking like, I think my radius right now is like 35 or something, or 36, and without it, it's like a 23 radius or 24. Like, it's a huge difference. So the small nodes leading up to it have 20% total between the two of them, and then the final node is 50%. That's 70% increased area of effect, and you don't get area effect anywhere else on the tree. So when you have this in addition to Profane Bloom, the clear feels so much better, and I did not want to play without this. I tried for a little bit, and I was like, nope, nope, nope. So rerouted the tree, went for this, which also allowed me to grab Corruption and Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is just a lot of chaos damage. You have 32% from the small nodes plus 27% from the large node. Basically 60% increase chaos damage roundabout there. And yeah, that's pretty much why I wanted to go towards the left side of the tree here. Even though the pathing does look a little bit awkward, it's actually not very bad in terms of efficiency. Now, what else are we going for here? So influence, really nice. Again, this is, you only get 8% mana reservation node here, but it does make a difference. Once I grab influence, I'm going to be grabbing the increased effect of auras on you, because you do actually get quite a bit of that on this build. Other than that, Whispers of Doom, obviously it's a mainstay on any occultist build. Atrophy with the Chaos Masteries. So the Chaos Masteries I'm running are 20% increased effective withered, excuse me, and 1% chaos dot multi per 4% chaos res. These should be like no-brainers if you're playing an occultist chaos dot build, simply because Withering Presence gives you 60% chaos res, so you only need a chaos res roll on like 1 or 2 items, or you can grab some on the tree, you'll be capped, and you get a bunch of free damage from it. Absolute no-brainer. And I will go over the Ascendancies in a second once I'm finished with the going over this. Ghost Shrouds, one of the best defensive layers in the game right now. No question about it. We're going down. In terms of life masteries, plus 50 life, 10% increased max life. A lot of these are like, you take it on every build nowadays. Melding's really good as well now. The 3% life is max energy shield is really good to take on any build, especially if you're taking Ghost Dance and stuff like that. If you're scaling energy shield in any form, you want to take it. So pathing done through here. Wasting, you get Chaos Res, you get a bunch of Chaos Dot Multi. That's where you're getting your second Chaos Mastery. And then Charisma, this is a bunch of mana reservation efficiency, and also effective auras, which again is really cool here. Revenge of the Hunted, this is just life and spell suppression, which is cool. So on the spell suppression front, with my Quartz Flask up, I'm sitting at 52% spell suppression. Now there's a lot more spell suppression you can get. I basically have like not a lot at all on my gear right now, because you can see my setup here is I'm using Apothecary's Gloves, Crown of the Inward Eye, and a really bad base. So like I don't have any spell suppression on my gear for the most part. So you definitely can get 100% on this build, whether from the tree or from getting it on gear. It's actually really easy because we do path down through Mage Bane, and then again you get these small nodes here with reflexes. So you get a bunch of spell suppression on the tree. Pathing through here, Profane Chemistry, into Sentinel, into Constitution, just tons and tons and tons of life. And then one thing you could do, if you don't want to go for a cluster jewel setup and you don't really care about the AoE or the damage over here, or if you wanted to make sacrifices somewhere else in the build, though I'm not really sure where you would do that, because this would be the easiest thing to do, is to cut out that top left side. But you can path down here and grab Inveterate. which is just an absolute ton. Like this is 18% from the 3 small nodes, plus 12% here. That's 30%, unless I can't do math at all. That's 30. And then with the spell suppression mastery, the 10% chances for spell suppression, if you know, all your main slots have evasion on it, that's 40% from 1 small cluster. It's just, I'm not pathing for it because I don't really care that much. I also, maybe an unpopular opinion, I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, I don't think you need 100% spell suppression, even remotely close, for it to be worth investing a little bit in spell suppression. Even with like 30 to 40%, you will 100% feel it. And I think if you can get a little bit in your build without really sacrificing anything, there's no reason not to. So I will try to get more spell suppression on the character, and I'll talk about where and how later on when I go through the gear, but that's kind of where the character's at now. Stuff that I still need to take. Obviously, I still need to get a level for influence and then grab the mastery here. I have 1 life node down here on Constitution, and then the evasion mastery node. So Grace has 25% increased mana reservation efficiency. Once I get my Shaper Shield rolled, I will be grabbing that. There's also cannot be stunned if you haven't been hit recently. I would have to play with that to see if it's really worth taking. I've seen a few people playing with it. I'm not entirely sold on it yet, so we'll see. Past that, it would be kind of like small things here and there, because if we look now, my character is level 90, so quite low, but this is, grabbing these 2 would put me at 92, grabbing this would put me at 93, grabbing this mastery here would put me at 94, and then we're kind of looking at like small min-maxing things, small amounts of life here or there, small amounts of damage here or there, maybe like spending 2 points to grab resourcefulness, 10% ES, 5% life, 5% spell sup, you know, like just small things from there on. Also maybe grabbing points in One with Evil, or having some spare points in like non-essential nodes. If you want more damage, you could go for growth and decay, things like that. There's stuff all over the place. Why One with Evil? It's because this is the only mastery that is like close to this tree, or close to this passive setup on the tree that gives CB immune for fighting Cirrus. You would spec in and out of this each time you fought Cirrus. Well, at least that's typically what I do on witch builds, because witch builds suck in terms of the CB immune mastery. I wish there was something, you know, in a more accessible spot on the tree. The other closest one is down here on Asylum, and it's just like really awkward placing. But yeah, so that's the passive tree. If you're wondering, the jewel I have here, it's just a Spreading Rot jewel with the Unlucky Corrupt. Obviously like a mainstay in any chaos dot build. And then the jewel that I have down here is just life with damage over time rolled on it. It's all right, it's whatever, it's not a crazy jewel or anything. So now moving on to the gear and the links. The helmet, I have Crown of the Inward Eye. It's not perfect, but I don't have any divine orbs or anything to try to go for that 21%. So I'm stuck at 19. As you can see, it can roll between 9 and 21. So 19's not that bad. The transfiguration buffs on this and whatnot, as well as the amount of like flat armor it gives you, is just so good for this build. Same as any cold dot build. This is like probably the best in slot you could have. If you wanted to go instead for some type of influence helmet or something and try to get like spell sup with like mana reservation, or like roll like a Shrieking Loathing helmet or something, again for mana reservation, you could. But I really like Crown of the Inward Eye. It's one of my favorite helmets in the game. For obvious reason, it's just super strong. You plug it into a lot of builds and it will just work. Moving on here, my chest is nothing special. This is actually a chest piece I was using on my Slayer. I yoinked this 6-link and then just recolored it. I've had pretty bad luck with 6-links throughout the entirety of the private league. And again, the private league's quite small. It's big. It was a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be, but it still is only around 50 players. And for a lot of those players, it's their first time playing hardcore at all. So there's not a lot of people that are like mega juicing endgame, you know? So there's not a lot of like abundance in terms of like really high end gear. So I can't just ask someone for a 6-link and they'll throw it. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff, especially like people playing like at the upper end, like the super endgame type stuff, there's maybe 2 or 3 of us that are kind of like at that level right now. So most of this stuff is SSF with like, sometimes we get a good piece that one of the others can use and we just kind of like swap them around. But yeah, this chest piece is nothing crazy. It's not super good. It's literally just a 6-link. It is really nice though that it rolled with strength, simply because I am starved for strength on this build. If I were to replace it with a like crazy chest piece that didn't have any strength on it, what I would do is path through here instead of these 2 nodes down here to connect this tree. and it costs you 1 extra passive point, but it does let you take physique, which is 30 strength to make up for that. But there's other places that I plan on getting strength by the time the build's, you know, finished. A lot of these pieces are just kind of like intermediate pieces. The chest piece definitely being one of them. However, it does have the open prefix for the life is max ES. So as soon as I get that craft, it will be replacing this bench craft. Moving on to the belt. This belt's pretty sick. It's got tier 1 life on a leather belt with an open suffix, and I really needed lightning res at the time, so it's got everything that I wanted. If you're wondering why I have a low bench craft for the strength on there, it's simply because that's all the strength that I needed to be able to hit level 20 on all of my strength related gyms. So I didn't need more strength. Even though more strength is technically more life, I didn't really want to spend the extra chaos orbs on it because I don't know how long I'm going to be using this belt. Moving on, Apothecary Gloves. This is just extra damage right now. I don't know if I'm going to stick with Apothecary Gloves, excuse me, long term. I think what I'm looking at more endgame is a armor evasion base to try to get spell suppression on it, and if I'm lucky, I can also get chaos stop multi with hunter influenced gloves. But these gloves are pretty good as they are. They have a bunch of int, which means extra energy shield. And then they have some flat energy shield, 103 life, which is a ton, and good resist. So not bad, not bad. Moving on, we have Fugitive Boots, Chaos Res here with a crazy roll, honestly. We have tier 1 life, and then a decent lightning res roll, and tier 2 Chaos Res with an open prefix for a move speed onslaught on kill roll. That's how I'm getting onslaught on the build for clearing. Moving on to the shield. The shield is super whatever. I literally bought this shield because I like the second map I ran once I got into maps, how to harvest. I went and I bought a shield from the epilogue and put it in, and I just got this after a few rolls. I just rolled the flat evasion on it for now since I'm not using grace to try to help my ghost shrouds heal me a little bit more. Because if you look right now with no jade flask, I have just under 2300 evasion rating, so my ghost shrouds aren't healing a ton. But that's kind of like a unavoidable issue with like the current set of bases that I'm using, right? Because I have no evasion here, I have no evasion here, I have no evasion here, so I just try to get a little bit of extra evasion on the shield. Now accessories. This amulet was the other thing I yoinked from my slayer, so the stuff that I stole from were just the chest piece and the amulet simply because at the time I just like I grabbed all the ones in the epilogue and threw them on some alks, and they were all awful, so I just took his. It's just life and res with the open suffix for getting strength, because I'm starved for strength on this build. Luckily, I am chaos res capped, so a lot of the suffixes aren't that important. Moving on to the ring. This ring's pretty fat, to be honest. It is tier 1 life, tier 1 flat ES, some all res and cold res on there. It is a full prefix, full suffix, so I can't benchcraft anything, but it is a pretty good ring when it comes to just like raw HP. Moving over to the left side now, this is absolutely nuts, you guys. It is crazy. This ring has 4 tier 1 rolls. This is a absolutely nutty ring. Tier 1% increased damage from an unveil, by the way. Tier 1 life. Tier 1 cast speed, tier 1 all res, and then like a crappy fire res roll, and I bench crafted on flat ES. This is a sick ass ring. Don't know what I need an unset ring for. Wish it was a different base, but it's a sick ass ring. Very pog ring. Moving on to the last piece here. Just a prophecy wand. I did manage to get a harvest craft for 1% increased AoE per quality. You'll notice that it's not qualityed. I literally got that like a few minutes before recording the video. I've been playing like on and off. Like super like semi AFK while like working on like YouTube editing stuff, so that's why that it's not quality yet, but it will be quality, trust me. So what is this? Basically I hit it, I got 17% dot multi with +1 to chaos gems, and then bench crafted on chaos dot multi. It's not anything super crazy, but it's pretty good, and it's probably what I'll be using for a while, because the easiest way honestly to craft something like this when you're getting like a item with +2 gems is honestly just to meta mod it and put on multi-mod. That's honestly the easiest way to do it, or to throw on prefixes can't be changed and then hit it with like an unveil or something to try to get like a crazy spell damage roll or something like that. You know, that would be one of the 2 ways that I'd probably take it to like get like a actually like a end game wand. But that's all of the gear. Now let's go into the passives. And by passives, I mean gems. Holy moly. So in the helmet, I just have Molten Shell linked to increased duration and cast when damage taken, and Grace. Obviously, Grace isn't getting procced by anything. It's just that's where the slot is. In the shield, I have Flame Dash and Withering Step linked with Arcane Surge. Now, it is important to know that with Withering Step is a spell, so it will proc Arcane Surge. So it is beneficial to have them both linked, not just Flame Dash. I'm also using a level 5 Arcane Surge for now. I might bump it up to 6 or 7 later on, but I am one of those people. I like to have Arcane Surge procking every single time I use the ability it's procking to, instead of every other time, especially in the case of Withering Step while like bossing or something. I just want it to be up 100% of the time in exchange for like maybe like a 1% damage difference, right? In the boots, that's where my Essence Drain currently is, with a Void Manipulation rather, Essence Drain, Controlled Destruction, and Efficacy. You can see a lot of these gems are halfway to 20, getting very close in the case of Essence Drain because I use a Harvest Craft on it. My Blight are my gloves. Again, these have to be corrupted for the Vol Blight, so those aren't going for a plus 21 or anything, but Blight, Void Manipulation, Infused Channeling, Controlled Destruction. Again, all of these are nearing level 20 now. In the chest piece is obviously the Bane setup. We have Bane, Punishment, Despair, Controlled Destruction, Enfeeble, and Void Manipulation. I will go over why Punishment in a second. And then in the wand, we just have Determination, Malevolence, and Defiance Banner. So why am I using Punishment? So this is actually one thing I didn't notice. It kind of slipped the radar for me. So in the past, you only wanted to use 2 curses on Bane because the wording on Bane deals 40% more damage for each curse applied through Bane. Or 42%, I guess. It's leveled up, right? 42% more damage per curse applied. So in the past, 2 curses was the max you could get before it was a damage loss over just using a normal support gem, right? With all the support gems getting, you know, mega nerfed, funnily enough, now, you know, because Bane wasn't touched or anything, you can fit in 3 curses before it becomes a damage loss, which is actually very nice because that lets us not have to mess with blasphemies or anything like that at all, which is really cool. So instead of going for temp chains, why would you go temp chains? Obviously it slows things, which we don't really care about because we have hinder anyway on multiple sources. So things are going to be slowed anyway. And then the big thing, it will make your dot last longer. So obviously if you're afflicted with temp chains, buffs, debuffs, everything lasts longer. Flasks, everything, right? So technically you could have way more uptime on Bane, and thus an easier rotation, because that's kind of how this works for single target, is you kind of have like a rotation. You'd have an easier time with the rotation if you use temp chains. However, Punishment is huge. So what does Punishment do? Cursed enemies take a whopping 76% increased damage while in low life. I think at level 20, this is like 78 or 79%. So what is low life? Remember that a few patches ago, they changed low life. That's below 50%. So below 50% life, they take a bunch of extra damage. So like overall, you can like average that out, right? You just add the damage it's not adding when they're not on low life with the damage that they are taking when they are on low life, and then you average it out, and it's like a pretty significant damage gain. I guess you could basically divide it by 2, right? You're getting like around 40% increased damage over the full fight, as well as 10% of overkill damage from killing blows on cursed enemies is reflected to other enemies as physical damage. So I could be wrong, and I may be wrong. This is incredibly hard to test, but I believe obviously nothing on the build hits, so you're not getting any overkill damage from killing blows, right? Kind of, but not really, because Profane Bloom is an explosion. It is a on-hit killing blow. So your Profane Blooms can, I may be mistaken, but I'm quite sure they can proc Punishment, which gives you like another element of explosions, which can help with clear. Again, not a very like big difference, because Profane Bloom is Profane Bloom, which is why I said it's hard to test in the first place. And if you like see the Punishment explosions, they are quite small, but it is extra damage and it does help. It's I've been able to run Enfeeble maps. The only map mod that I did not think about that you should not run is less effective curses. In red maps, running the 60% less effective curses maps, you deal no damage. because I guess like technically Bane is a hex or a curse. So 60% less effect just means you deal no damage with this ability, which I didn't factor that in. So I did a few maps like where I had less effective curses and like more monster life. And then on Awakening level 7, things were just like not dying. It took a while, those maps. But yeah, don't do that map mod. Other than that though, Punishment's actually a bunch of extra damage. It's super sick, which is why I'm running that over Temp Chains. So yeah, that's all the gems, that's all the gear, that's everything. Obviously, once I get the reservation shield, then my auras will get moved to the shield, but that's pretty much it. In terms of ascendancies, the ascendancy order, I actually went Profane Bloom first lab. You don't have to, but I wanted the pops as soon as possible. Playing Bane without pops just felt wrong to me. So I went Profane Bloom. Cruel Lab, I did Void Beacon. Merc Lab, I did Withering Presence. And then as soon as I was able to enter Uber Lab, I went and I grabbed Malediction, which was big. So yeah, character has a ton of defensive layers. A decent actually amount of damage and stuff like that. The last thing that I want to go through before I close out this video is technically the single target rotation that I mentioned, right? So we have a lot of buttons to press, right? We have a lot of buttons. We have Bane, Blight, Vol Blight, Withering Step, and Essence Drain for our single target. So if we break it down and we look, Bane lasts for 4.66 seconds. That is the dot. Essence Drain lasts for 5.97 seconds. And then Withering Step is like, whatever. Okay, not important. So what is our rotation for single target, right? Because we want to maximize Blight uptime, right? Because this is, you know, we're channeling this. This is all of our single target, right? This is huge. So for single target, what you're going to want to do is Essence Drain, Blight, start holding, excuse me, Essence Drain, Bane, start holding Blight, and then you can just tap Withering Step and it will turn on, and then immediately you're already holding Blight. So technically, technically you're still, you know, because anytime you use an action after using Withering Step, it'll cancel Withering Step. But if you're holding Blight down before you do it, obviously it doesn't go away. This doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, you can, it lets you get like a little bit more time on Blight. Why in this order? Simply because Essence Drain lasts longer than Bane, right? So you'll have the maximum amount of overlap if you throw the Essence Drain and then do the Bane and then do Blight. And then after about 4 seconds of holding the Blight, you stop and you do it again. So it'd be like this, right? 4 seconds. And a really easy way to see this is Withering Step has a 3-second cooldown, right? So around the time that Withering Step's coming off of cooldown, like right after it comes off cooldown, is typically around the time you would want to reset everything. And then obviously if you get a Vol Blight that comes up, just pop it whenever. But that's kind of like the single target rotation, I would say, to have your dots stacked as long as possible while like maximizing your Blight uptime. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to let me know. I know it's a long video. There's a lot to cover, as always, starting a new build. Again, excuse the Discord. Forgot to mute it before starting the video. But yeah, that's going to be, oh, rip that guy. Rip that guy. Anyway, guys. If you like the video or whatever, feel free to thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to thumbs down, and offer me some constructive criticism. And then, if you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out regularly, feel free to maybe consider throwing me a sub, because it helps out a bunch. Anywho, if you want to join the league still going on, all the way up to the day that the new league will be, like officially revealed. So still plenty of time to jump in and have some fun if you want to. And with that, I'm going to hop out. I'm actually going to be live on Twitch directly after this video gets uploaded, so if you want to come by and see the build in action or chat or whatever, feel free, because you'll find me over there. Anyway, peace suits, take it easy. I'll see you in the next one.